I'm glad to see you guys. Hey, while we're waiting here, get in the chat, and I'd like to just let me know how long you've been freelancing. Would you mind doing that? Just jump in the chat real quick. If you don't know where that's at, it's at the bottom of the Zoom window. Pop the chat open. It'll hop over the side. Yeah, show me how long you've been freelancing. I'd love to kind of get an idea. Oh, wow, 13 months. Cool. James, Cami, on and off for 30 years. That's awesome. John, 5 months. Diane, 20 plus. Awesome. Angela, 2 to 3. 3 years. Awesome. About a year. Byron, plus 5 years, 2 years, 8 years. Man, this is awesome. I've got some people that are kind of getting started, and I've got some veterans in here, which is so cool. Very cool. We'll wait just to hear for a few more minutes. I want to just, before we get started here, and say thank you. Shelly, thank you for being our host today. Thanks for being in the room. And I want to thank you guys for all showing up today, for making some time on your calendar. Thank you. I value that immensely. And I also want to say thank you to the Freelance Exchange of Kansas City. I hope you're all members. I hope you're all a part of this amazing community, putting together this opportunity for us to learn. We'd all much rather be in person. I get it. But I'm grateful today that our technology is working, and that our internet connections are working, and that we can get together. So welcome. Hey, I see Brianna, not currently a freelancer, but interested in potentially pursuing it. Yeah, again, before we get started here, I know people are still jumping on board, but I've just been amazed with this whole transition that our country has been making to work from home. And, by necessity, businesses are now placing their employees in their house. And I think people for the first time have gotten a taste of what this work from home life can be like. And I think some of them are kind of getting the bug. So anyway, I imagine there'll probably be a lot of people here over the next several months that'll be dipping their toe in the water of freelancing. But anyway, I'm glad to have you here. Think we're okay to get started?
Yeah.
Shelley?
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Okay. Well, hey, I want to welcome here today, guys. Again, my name is Mat Casner. I'll share a little bit about myself and how long I've been doing this, and hopefully share some value with you today. Again, if you have a question, we'll have some time at the end. Feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat. I'll ask Shelly to maybe help me keep an eye on that, and maybe flag some questions at the end. We'll be able to answer those for you. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I got my first freelancing gig in 1989. That was last century. And I got paid $50 to do a hand-drawn illustration of a dove. And guys, I didn't even realize it was called freelancing at the time. Somebody just said, hey, I heard you can draw. I have a publication. I'd love to have an illustration for it. Can you do it for me? I mean, I was still in high school, and I'm like, you want to pay me to do something for you? Yeah. And so that was my first paying gig back in 1989. And just been kind of growing as a freelancer part-time. I was a part-time freelancer for a long, long time, from 1996 to 2006 after college. I spent about 10 years in Kansas City working in the Kansas City ad agency culture. I worked for some mom and pop boutiques. I was able to be a part of some IT and marketing communication departments for Fortune 500 companies and some international nonprofits. So I was able to grab a lot of different experience in a lot of different environments and learn from a lot of different people for those 10 years. And then in 2006, that's when I jumped. I jumped out of the boat, and I started my freelance design business full time. It's been 14 years now. Still going strong, still loving it. I say often that I've become very unemployable because I love freelancing so much. And in 2019, I'll just share this little benchmark with you. I passed the $1 million mark in lifetime revenue for one of my clients. That's lifetime value of one client that I've had over the past 14 years that passed $1 million. And so I'm just telling you guys that freelancing is legit. It's a legit business. It's a legit way to make a revenue. I supported my family. I have 4 kids. You'll see them here in just a second. And, you know, with a single income, I was able to support my family. We still took vacations. We had insurance. We had all of that. Freelancing is a real way to live. And in today's gig economy with technology, it's only going to get bigger and better. In 2012, I started mentoring and coaching other freelancers that I would meet. And now I offer a variety of coaching services. And just a real little bit of trivia. I live in a very, very small town. I'm actually south of Kansas City, about an hour. It's called Mountain City, Kansas, population 650. And I've been here for 20 years. And so my life and my business is kind of a testament that, yes, you can grow a vibrant freelance business in the middle of nowhere. Now, we have good internet, and so I'm thankful for that. Today, I am here, and we're going to talk about rates and estimates. And, you know, honestly, guys, 14 years has come and gone pretty quickly. But I would not be in the game today if I had not figured out how to get my pricing where it should be, and, you know, getting my customers to buy. And to me, that is I'm not going to say a stumbling block for a lot of freelancers, but I'll make this observation that a lot of us as freelancers come into this game without any real sales or marketing experience. We really don't have a lot of business experience. Now, that may not be, you know, for everyone. There may be some people that are coming with that, but I'll just speak for myself. I came into freelancing not having a lot of that background. And so for me, learning how to price and pitch took a lot of time. I stubbed my toe a lot, and kind of until I was able to find a system that worked well for me. Okay, so let me kind of frame this up a little bit. I'm a graphic designer and a web developer. Okay, I'm kind of part tech, part design guy. And that's the world that I live in. And so a lot of my clients, I deal a lot with print design. I deal a lot with web design. And here in the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing a lot with marketing communications and marketing technology, doing the implementation for that. So just to kind of let you know the services that I provide, and then the type of, you know, the services I offer my clients. So I'm going to jump in here real quick. I'm going to share my screen. This is my family. This is what pumps my blood, guys. I've got 3 girls and a boy, 2 college age, 2 still in high school. This is in Jackson, Wyoming. If you've never been there, beautiful place. I recommend it. It's about a 15-hour drive from Kansas City. Absolute beautiful place. And this is one of my favorite pictures of us. But this is what pumps my blood as a freelancer, guys, is to have the flexibility and freedom to be able to work wherever I want to. In fact, I was doing some client work just 5 miles away in Jackson the morning this picture was taken, answering a couple of emails for a client. So just love the flexibility that freelancing gives to us. Real quick, here are my whys, why I'm a freelancer. I love the quality that I get of time with my family. I get the freedom of being able to work from wherever I want. I get to control my earning potential. And I'm able to give to things that I'm passionate about. I serve great clients, and it allows me to be my best self. Okay, so those are my whys. Here's a little snapshot from a couple years ago. Another cool trip with me and my daughter. We went to Pyeongchang for the 2018 Winter Olympics, and we got to hang out there for 14 days. And it was just an amazing daddy-daughter bonding time. And again, I had my laptop with me, so I was able to get work done while I was there. Again, just proof that the freelance lifestyle can really open up some amazing opportunities for us. And this is a shot of the executive suite at the Casner Ranch in Mountain City, Kansas that I took last week. That's my front porch, guys. And you can see I kind of had the digital office. I call it my corner office with no windows. That's because I'm outside. Anyway, this is another thing that I love about freelancing, is just being able to set up my office wherever. My clients don't care, just as long as the work gets done. So, okay. All right, let's jump into this. Rates and estimates. What I want to share with you today are are 3 keys to winning the game of pricing and pitching. Okay, I want to share with you 3 really key elements that I have adopted in my own business, and related to how I set my rates, how I set my pricing, how I pitch, how I get the estimates out to my clients, and how do I turn them into buyers. Guys, that's the big thing. We could sell services all day long, but if people aren't buying what we're selling, we're not going to last the freelance game very, very long. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is go through some of the struggles that you may have had in the past, or maybe right now with freelancing. Okay. What's my value? Do I know what my value is? Can I determine what my value is as a freelancer? What should I charge? What should my rate be? What's my competitor charging? I know that's something that we're probably always asking ourselves. Am I high? Am I low? Am I leaving money on the table? Am I scaring a client off by putting a price up there that's too high? I'm sure there are other struggles that go through our minds when we're pitching and when we're creating pricing for our clients. But these are a few that I struggled with, okay? All right. So here, I'm going to jump right into this, okay? Key number 1, if you're taking notes, key number 1 is our value should be based on our results, not our effort, okay? I'm not going to tell anybody that pitching and creating an estimate based on an hourly rate is a bad thing, all right? I did it for a long time. I charged hourly rates for my work because I didn't have a better system. Okay, I would put in there how many hours I thought it was going to take to do a job, and I would base that on a rate, and that would come up with my price. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what, guys, closing jobs when I used that model was a hard sell, because I don't know about you, but I would always get the question from my clients, what's your rate? And that is the immediate question that a lot of clients, especially if they're new to buying from freelancers, are asking themselves. And they feel like they can get a good deal if they can get somebody with a cheap rate. All right. And I'm going to tell you that I think that is probably where most of us lose a lot of work. The first thing we need to do is we need to turn our focus with our client, not from, how much time is this going to take and what's the effort, how much is it going to cost per hour, to what is the real value to the services that I'm providing. So here's an example. I start taking notes with the initial client contact. Okay, here's tip number 1. When you get initial client contact, they're coming to you because you're a service provider and you have a service that they perceive that they need. Okay, whether it's writing, whether it's graphic design, whether it's building a website, whether it's some marketing copy, whatever it is, they're reaching out to you because they feel like you have an answer to a problem, and that's the key. You need to identify from the outset, what is the problem that your client has? What is the pain point? What is the struggle that they have? What can they not overcome by themselves? Why are they reaching out to you? Because this is the key in the whole selling process. All right, but write it down. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of a bonus here. All right, when you're writing down the notes, I suggest you write down in the language they deliver it to you in. Okay, because you need to communicate to them with the language that they know and understand. Sometimes we get into the process and we take up what we think they want, and then we throw back it to them in our language. And I think sometimes things get lost in translation, especially if we start to talk technical with them. All right, I always write down their pain points in the exact language that they give them to me, because to me, that's how they understand their problem the best. Now, I'm going to translate that, and I'm going to create a solution that's going to solve that problem. But for them, that's what the real crux of the issue is. That's how they define that problem to me. All right. Now, what we want to do is while we're in this conversation, we want to find out why it is important. Okay, why are they coming to me and why is it important? Okay, this is an important question to ask because this is going to ultimately get to the value. Okay, when I ask them why it's important, they're going to have to consciously understand why they are contacting me because at some point, it's either going to impact them in the bottom line as in it's going to help them make more money or it's going to help them save money. All right. And when I can start asking questions and start probing a little bit, I can find out why it's important to them. And then the question that I want to really get to is I want to find out what it's worth to them. Okay. That's where I want to have, before I get done with this client interview, I want to have in my mind a dollar figure to them. What is this solution worth to them? Because once you get them to come to that realization, then you've got a very strong hold on how you can pitch your services and meet their need and give them the value that they want and need. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is in this first step, this first key, we're going to base our result. We're going to create our results based around value. Okay, not on effort. We don't want to think about how much time it's going to take. We want to look at effort. Now, you're going to ask yourself a couple of questions when you get to the point when you've got a price and you're ready to pitch it. Is it worth my time? That's the question you need to ask yourself internally. Is this project that I'm about to take and what it's worth to me and what it's going to be worth to my potential client, is it worth me to take on? Because be honest with you guys, there's a lot of projects that I take on or that I look at, and I look at it and I say, you know what, there's not enough skin on the bone for me. And I have to say no. And that's okay because I've been in plenty of situations where I have literally given my time away to help a client. And I'm not saying I want to help businesses, but at the end of the day, I'm a business person and I'm here to make to sell my services to help businesses. Okay. So I have to look out. I have to look out for the money that I'm making myself. Okay. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I'll have to make that decision when I get there. Okay, so key number one, value should be based on results, not effort. Key number two, give your clients a choice. Okay, this was a place where I stumbled for years, guys, for years. People would come up to me and they would want a solution. I would give them a solution and then I would hear crickets. I wouldn't hear back. And I would be bewildered. I would have self-doubt. I don't know if you guys have ever been there before. You're wondering what's going through their head. If you could just read their mind, what was their reaction when they saw my bid? Okay, here's a little bit of buying psychology. How many of us like just one option? How many of us, when we are going to go buy something, like to shop around? Okay, I think we all do it. We want to find the best value for our dollar, okay? And we're going to go find a couple of different options so that we can compare. Now, here's the deal. If you give your client one option, what do they have to do to make an educated buying decision? They have to find a couple of more options. So if you're giving them one, they're going to find two more. Okay, they're going to find your competitor. They're going to find somebody else because they want to make an educated buying decision. I'm not saying they don't trust you, but their money is their money and they're going to spend it however they want to spend it. So here's what I do. I give them a choice. Let me tell you how I learned how to do this. I learned it from a funeral director client of mine. Okay, craziest place in the world to learn how to sell. But I was in this funeral home of one of my clients, web design client, and I was getting to know him, and I knew him for years, but I mean, I'd never worked with his business, and he was kind of showing me around, and he took me into the place where, like the showroom, right, where the caskets are, and I was getting this sales lesson. I didn't realize it. He turns to me, he shows me this wall of caskets, and he points to one on the bottom, and it's a real simple wood box, okay. And it's not fancy, but you know what? It solves the problem. All right, it's a solution. It's there, and he's got a price tag on it. And it's a X dollars or whatever it is. You know, it's there. Then he shows me the one right above it, you know, kind of on the wall. And it's this next one is a little nicer. Okay. It's got a little bit nicer wood. The finish is a little bit nicer. And, you know, it's got a little bit more of a decorative feel. The hardware is a little bit nicer, you know, and the price is almost double. It's almost double what the entry-level one was. Now, the entry-level one solved the problem. Okay, if I'm in there looking for a casket, so option number one definitely meets my need. Okay, but option number two is you know, a lot nicer looking, and it's more money, but it looks nicer. It has more features. It's definitely a step up. And then he shows me the top level, the one right above it. And this one is the Cadillac. I mean, it's gold hardware. I mean, it is satin lined. I mean, it's got every bell and whistle that you could ever want, more than you'd ever need in a casket, but it's the top of the line. And the price on this one is outside of my budget and will never be in my budget. Okay. And so he shows me these three options. Okay. And he looks at me and he says, Matt, he goes, tell me which one most of my customers choose. And I said, I'm going to guess it's the middle one. He said, 99.9% of the time. People don't want to buy the basement option. They don't need the Cadillac. They go for option B. And guess where he has the most profit margin set up? Option B. So when we are creating solutions for our clients, when we are pricing our services, we need to think about that. Let's give them the bare bottom. Let's give them the bare minimum. Okay, and we're going to charge them for that. Okay, we're going to cover our time. Okay, but then we're going to add a few extra things. All right, we're going to sweeten the deal a little bit. It's going to be more money. Okay. You know, and you can kind of play around with pricing, but I would definitely say make sure your profit margins are most in that second option. And then throw in the kitchen sink for option 3. This is where you give them everything they want and so much more. Now, I'll tell you this. I have been using this tactic in my pricing for a very long time. And every now and then, they buy option 3. Because they want the best. But here's the key. The key is not necessarily in having 3 options. You could have 4 or 5. It's that my customer gets to choose which one is best for them. So I give my clients a choice, okay? And that has been a part of my invoices forever, okay? And has been very successful. And, you know, at the end of the day, they'll say, hey, I like option 2, but I kind of like a couple of those things that are in option 3. No problem. It's just a little upgrade. Happy to take care of you. Happy to make this solution fit your budget or your wish list. Happy to do it. I don't give anything away. Okay. It's all there, and it's all there for them to choose. Okay. All right. So that is key number 2, is give your clients a choice. All right, so here is key number 3, is we need to be selling results, not services. Okay, I am a very, very proud graphic designer. I'm not the best graphic designer in the world, but I'm okay. All right, and when I talk to people, I used to talk to my customers, and I would sell, you know, these services of graphic design, logo package, branding kit, website, e-commerce package, whatever it was. I started to learn that my customers, they didn't always speak that language, okay? And my customers aren't always used to dealing with these types of buying decisions. So I have to really be conscious of the fact that I'm dealing with people that don't buy professional services very often. Not at all like going to the grocery store, or even buying a car, which we all do on a periodic basis, right? Not very people buy websites or a branding package. And that's kind of where I feel like we lose people in translation, because our language and what we see as valuable to ourselves It's not the same language that our customers are speaking. Okay, so I'm going to go back to key number one. What was the language that they spoke to me in that initial client conversation? When I am going to pitch them my services, i.e., when I'm going to give them my options, I'm going to frame this entire pitch around answering their key questions or their key problem. And it will go something like this. In my estimate, I'll say, you've told me that you have this or that problem. And I'll use their exact language. And here's the thing. When they read that, they'll think you're reading their mind. Because they're not going to remember they said that to you, but they are going to see that. And that wording is going to resonate with them. Then you're going to go in and you're say, I've got 3 options that'll solve your problem. Option A, option B, option C. And in my proposal, in my estimate, I go through option A, option B, option C. I give details, what's included in each option, how it solves the problem, okay? Because in the end, they're not buying services, they're buying answers, they're buying results. They want the problem to go away. They want more sales, they want better PR, they want more advertising, they want whatever, better brand, I don't care what it is. At the end of the day, they want results. So if you can frame your estimates in a way that communicate those results to them very quickly and easily, you're going to make a sale. Now, I used to design these amazingly beautiful estimates. Altogether, they'd be, 15, 16 pages. Beautiful, tons of stuff, corporate background, portfolio, testimonials, all this jazz. It took me hours to do an estimate. Today, I do my estimate inside of QuickBooks Online. I email my customers a PDF generated right out of QuickBooks Online that has a signature line and a date. It is the plain most boring estimate in the world, but what does it do well? It lets me display those options. There's no fluff. There's no sales pitch. You have a problem. I've got a solution. In fact, I've got 3 options you can choose from. Which one do you want? Choose the one you want, sign your name at the bottom, take a picture of it, fax it to me, email it to me, and we're good to go. Okay, that has been my MO for the last 10 years. And it has been one of the best things I've ever done because it takes the stress out of how do I get my client to buy? And that's the way I do it. So just to recap here, key number 1 is we want to base the value of our rates based on the results that we're getting, that value to the client, okay, and not the effort that we're spending. Guys, a little tip here is freelancers, the better we get at being freelancing means that we're going to be able to provide more value for less work. That's the magic. That's the secret sauce, guys. If I was still keeping track of time and billing time, I would be on the treadmill. I'd be on this treadmill, this spinning mouse wheel. Okay, that's not where I want to be. I want to provide value, but if I can do it in half the time, I'm going to do it in half the time. Okay. Key number 2, give your clients a choice. Remember the funeral director example? I use it to this day. It's just a key to selling. It's the way people buy. And I include it in the way that I pitch my products. Key number 3 is to sell the results, not the services. Make sure that you are giving your clients an answer to their problems in a language that they know and understand, and they'll become your customers. And if you serve them well, you'll be a hero. You'll have a lifetime client, and they'll call you when they have more problems because they now associate you with providing answers to their problems. So,
Matt,
all right. Yes, ma'am.
Laura Williams, she was asking, do you send the client some sales collateral or anything before you send the quote?
Explain sales collateral. Do you mean like, do I of my own?
I started to type and I was like, oh wait, I could just unmute myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just like any kind, you don't send any sale, it just is, yeah. So I take forever to do my proposals as well. And I'm just wondering if you send them any kind of sample, work samples, or any kind of experience or any kind of, things that you would normally have put in a proposal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here's how I get around that, Laura. Number one, I've got a lot of information on my website. All right. So I've got work samples there. I've got social proof there. I've got testimonials there. I've got a lot of things on my website that are proof that I can do what I say that I can do. Okay. LinkedIn is probably one of those things that I use most often. I have a lot of social proof in LinkedIn. But here's one thing: if you want something that's punchy, that's tailored to your audience. Mentioned I did this really big proposal when I used to do my estimating. I would use InDesign to create it. All right, and it was pretty. It was laid out really well. It would have all of my corporate background. It would have testimonials. It would have work samples. It would have a lot of that information in there. And then at the very end, I would go through the details of the project, okay, the estimate. So what I ended up doing was I stripped out the estimate part from that. I took what was left and I zipped that up into a PDF, and I call that my corporate bio, okay? It's a PDF file that I update once a year. I'll drop in, new testimonials. I'll drop in some new work samples. If there's a new service that I'm rolling out that year, I'll highlight that. It has information on me and my work history. And I take that PDF, and if someone needs to see it, if we're being introduced for the first time, and I'm not sure if they have seen my website or if they've seen my social, I'll email it to them. 2 megabytes or whatever, provides an incredible background on me and the services that I provide, my experience, and what others have said about me. Okay, so that can be something that you can do. And you know what? You can even, customize the title page for your customer, drop their logo in there, save the PDF, and within 15 minutes, you've got a custom bio that you can send off to any prospect that minimizes your time and effort, but really gives the client something really nice to look at, something that showcases you and creates some buyer confidence. How's that?
That's great. I put a little note if there was any chance you would share that with us. I would love to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll drop my email address here in the chat, and if you guys are interested in that, just go ahead and reach out to me.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
That's a great idea. I really like that. It's kind of like your resume, but in a company kind of format.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, Matt, this was a really great presentation. Thanks for joining us today. Some of the points I kind of heard from you today is that your ideal client is someone who is looking for real results and not someone just to take care of their issue tomorrow for the cheapest price. I think that it's a kind of a lesson for us that we kind of do have to learn to say no when that is not our ideal client, because we're going to be able to provide what they want, but we're going to cut ourselves short eventually.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I will say this as a new freelancer, I did a lot of work for little or no, just to get the experience. And I'm not going to discount that, because as a freelancer, you need to have a track record. And once you have that track record, that's your best selling tool. But you got to start somewhere. So yeah, but at some point, and I look at it this way, John. Am I right, John? Yeah, is you want to continually be looking to upgrade. Okay, continue to raise. I raised my pricing, the way that I figure my pricing, 4 times in 2019. Okay, I was continually doing this, and that's how you do it as a freelancer. You start where you're at, and you just take one little step up, one little step up, one little step up. All right. So you'll take the clients that I had 15 years ago. Some of them I still have. Some of them are lifetime clients with me. Some of them I only had for a year or 2, because I kind of outgrew them, or there just wasn't a big match. There is a perfect client out there, and I say this: a perfect client is someone who pays you really well to do work for them that you would do for free if time and money were no object. And I have a few of those people that we gel together so well, and they pay me well but I believe in so much of what they're doing that literally, if time and money were an object, I'd work for them for free. So anyway, and you'll get there. You'll find them, I guarantee.
And Matt, yeah, it's a wonderful presentation. And I feel that the best thing I realized that you cater clients a lot. I feel that giving them 3 options, it feels as if you're giving some room to your clients, and that makes it easier for them to decide. Sometimes it happens that when you're selling, the client is like, feels fixated or confined. So I like that point that you give them options. They have the freedom to kind of pick and choose. And I think that's a great point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think having the options was a game changer for me, truthfully.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. That was nice.
Scott says, do clients expect you to give them a rough estimate in real time on the first contact? Happened on Tuesday, yesterday. I got an email from somebody who in an email gave me a 2-sentence email and said, hey, by the way, can you tell me what your rates are? Okay, so here's how I reframe that. I email them back and I say, hey, thanks for contacting me. I would love to get more information about your product. And here is the analogy I always share with people. If I go up to a home builder and I ask him those 2 questions, hey, I want you to build a home for me. How much is it going to cost? And he looks at me and says, you're crazy. I don't know why. I wouldn't feel bad about that. Of course not. He's not going to build me a house and give me a quote based on no schematics, based on no blueprint, based on no facts. We can't provide an estimate. We can't provide an estimate of value until we have the details. And I always say, happy to give you an estimate, but first we need to sit down and go through this. I need to find out exactly what you want.
Yeah.
What I hear from that is they're setting you up for a bidding war.
Oh yeah, I won't be a part of that.
Yeah.
No way. Nope, I won't get in that mess. Any other questions? Help me go back through here.
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey, Matt, have you done anything where suppose the work you were doing would enable someone to win like a multi-year contract? Okay. Have you ever included a pricing option that would include a percentage of that revenue that your client would get by winning that contract?
Actually, Byron, yes, I have. There have been a couple of where you're presenting yourself almost kind of as a silent partner, where you create an option in there where you're putting a little bit of equity into the project in exchange for kind of a long-term payout. Yeah, I actually have. I can't say that I've had a lot of people take me up on that. And generally, the way I price it is, if it's something like it's going to be worth that much to a potential client, I'm going to probably put the price a little higher and make maybe that long-term buy-in maybe look a little bit more attractive. Depends on how you really want to position it though. But yes, I have. There have been times when I've looked at a situation where a client is trying to put something together that's going to help them get a substantially large chunk of business or a multi-year type of revenue stream. Yeah, that's actually smart business. Actually, I think it is.
Yeah, of course, we learn from our experience. So I wish I had done that on an occasion, but just didn't know, if that was much of a practice. I mean, they can say no, but
oh yeah,
if they're going to do a 5-year thing, and you can say, going back to your point of how much is this worth to you, if you can get 3% or whatever it is, you do the math, that could be very advantageous.
Here's a real good example. Just last year in November, I sold a WordPress website, okay, to a builder, home builder. And he came to me, and through my initial conversation with him, I found out that he wanted to be able to get 4 or 5 new jobs based on this website in the next calendar year. Average home build, $200,000. So I backed my price out of that. I looked at what his potential earning could be. He kind of shared with me. I was thankful he shared with me what his profit margin was. I was able to do a little bit of math and find out where he was wanting to be at the end of a year with those 6 potential sales. And I backed down to a $14,000 WordPress website, and he bought it without even blinking. And that to me was, you know, I put my 3 options in there, but I gave him exactly what he wanted. And again, I did this in a QuickBooks Online PDF estimate. Again, I experiment all the time. I'm always trying something new. That's how I've learned over the years. And you never know unless you try it, unless you put it out there.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
I just had a comment about your point number 2 with giving your clients a choice. I think what a lot of people would hear when they hear choice is option number 1, less quality. Option number 2, pretty good quality. Option number 3, it's going to get me the most revenue. But I think what your example really showed is that it's not a matter of quality, it's a matter of features. All 3 of these take care of your problem, but we can, you know, I'm seeing a bit more into the problem you're having, and I have some suggestions for how we can really get you to that 150%.
Exactly right.
Oh, and Matt, I have 2 questions. So I want to thank you, first of all, for a really good presentation and very valuable. I've always been a big believer in pricing based on market value versus time, our investment of time. But the tricky thing is, especially if you're in a smaller community, is determining or helping to raise what perceived market value is. Where I am, I've had several people tell me that they're not used to paying more than, $600 or $700 for a logo. So I'm benchmarking a bit based off of larger communities in the Southeast. Not necessarily the largest like Atlanta, but mid-sized communities with a strong design scene. My question is, you know, and I look at the Graphic Artists Guild book, but their pricing is usually exceptionally high. So I'm just trying to get a better benchmark of where to price based on market value.
Yeah.
And what you look at.
That's a great question. And I will say this, that a lot of times I will price or value a service, and I'll base it on the company. And not necessarily on the service I'm providing. I'm looking at overall impact. I'm looking at what the overall win's going to be for them. And I'll be honest, I'll offer the same services to a smaller company with a smaller budget or a smaller reach for a much lesser price. So I take that into consideration. I don't charge a small mom and pop the same rate that I would charge a large corporate. I choose to how I want to pay them, and only I know that. Now, having said that, when I price my services for a smaller customer, I want to be in the top. I want to be in the top 10%.
Okay.
Of the, if there's a price war, I want my price to be in the top 10%. I used to think, you know, racing to the bottom of the pricing barrel was the fastest way to make a sale. That's the fastest way to lose your shirt and to spend a lot of time and waste a lot of time, because you're going to end up finding people that are not willing to pay. They're looking for the cheapest price, and guys, this is just my experience. Those people tend to be the hardest people to work with.
Oh, not only that, but they also then refer you to other people who are looking for a really
right.
that you want referred to. So yeah, no, I completely agree. I was just trying to get metrics on, you know, like metrics on pricing. And my second question is, again, I'm in a smaller community, probably maybe not as small as where you are, but we are about a couple hours away from anywhere.
Okay.
I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. And so I've had a strong debate about whether to stay or go based on professional opportunities as a creative independent. And I know that theoretically you can make it anywhere. I was curious about your strategies for outreach to potential clients and making new contacts and building a network when you don't have the opportunity to always do that in person.
Right. Yeah. No, that's huge, especially if you are in a remote location where you're not within. Well, nobody's rubbing elbows right now.
That's another problem. Yeah, that's a
nobody's in-person networking right now.
Yeah,
That's a fact.
which is a shame.
You know, one of the things that I do is I'm a big fan of social. And I believe that we all have a network. To maybe go back to your other question here, here's a little, I'm throwing this out as another free nugget. When you serve a client well, okay, and they are happy with the services you provided with them, get their story, get their testimonial, and get it now, okay?
Right.
Because that has incredible selling power. All right. How many of you go on Amazon and you go look at a product and you go read the reviews? Okay. How many of you will make those reviews a large deciding factor in whether you buy or not? Whether you know the people that are in those reviews or not, all you know is they've used the product. Here's their experience. When I work with people and I try to reach out through my social, I try to reach out through LinkedIn. I share articles, I share information when I can get in front of people. I love to do that. But the more that I can provide them with other people's testimonials, the better. I can tell you that today I do very little outreach. The majority of my business is either repeat clients or referrals. And it's a great place to be in, and eventually, you know, it's a great place. You're maybe not there yet, but when you make a client happy, capture their story, put it in your LinkedIn, put it on your website with the project in your portfolio, put it on your social, write about it on your social, and when someone approaches you and is asking you about a service and they have the pricing question, here's what you can do. You point back to your portfolio. You point back to an example that's nearby, and you say, well, here's an example I did for XYZ client. And the value of this is XYZ. Okay. And what you've just done is you've just set up a benchmark in the buyer's mind. Okay. If I want something kind of like that, then I'm going to be somewhere in the ballpark of to buy the services to get this taken care of. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're either going to make a decision on whether or not their budget or their finances will be able to handle it. And, you know, here's the deal. As freelancers, we have the power to always come down. Okay. And I don't discount services. I take things away. Okay. So instead of saying, hey, here's a branding package that's going to cost $1,000. You can't afford $1,000. Well, hey, let me take a couple of things out of that package. Let me take a couple of things out that'll lower that price for you. Okay, I'm not going to give you the whole package for $1,000 when it's, or give it to you for $800 when it's worth $1,000. Okay, I might take a couple of things out of it to you know, take away. I mean, it's almost like going from option B to option A, or going from option C to option B. Take a few things out of there, the price is going to drop. You don't get option C for the option B price. That's never going to happen. And that's the way you can negotiate. That's the way you can help them solve the problem. Say, okay, you really need this. This is what you really need. These other things would be maybe optional or additional. Let's just focus on the things that are really going to get you the quick wins the fastest.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Well,
I really like that example. Another benefit I hear to that is that the client may not be entirely comfortable with dropping $1,000 on you right now. And that $800 is a good test ground for them to kind of just test it out, and then they're probably after that they're going to be comfortable with that extra $200. This would probably be better with a the larger money amount.
Well,
But
the
that's just another
thing,
reason to offer.
the issue locally is that there are some communities where design is just more valued, and I've lived in those communities. Like Knoxville in Tennessee has a great design community, and people value design, and I mean, there's a market, there's a good market there. Locally, that just hasn't historically been the case. There's more education that needs to be done here. You're trying to push up a bit on rates, and so that's where trying to establish more networks out of area. Yeah. And so I'm happy. I will do, I'm doing work locally, but to really thrive, I'm trying to build up out of area and trying to see if I need to. That really just involves moving to where that is, or if I can try to, negotiate that remotely.
right. Yeah, Cordella, you're, here's a tip. I don't know what your niche is, but Facebook groups is a fabulous place where I've been able to do prospecting.
Yeah.
Find a group that is your niche, and start answering questions. People are going to pop in questions. They're having issues with this or that. Start answering questions. You're going to start to build a relationship. People are going to see you as an expert. There's going to be some open opportunities. And the great thing about Facebook groups is there's a million of them, and there's one for every niche out there. And you can live in Wilmington. That's no big deal.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, that was all the content I have for today. Thanks so much for your questions. We've got maybe a couple more minutes, but if anyone has a final question. Laura, you said, yeah, how do you transfer the solution to their problem to a dollar amount? It goes back to my answer with the construction company. I want to get to the point where I understand what the value of my solution is going to be to them. What's the real worth of this solution? If they're hoping that the solution I give them is going to help them generate $100,000 in revenue, I'm going to back my price out of that. Okay, so if I can say for $5,000 or $6,000, I'm going to help you 20x your investment. That's going to seem like a no-brainer to them. If they can give me $1 and I give them 10 back, who's not going to take that deal all day long?
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
This has been fantastic. I think for me, the two biggest takeaways are using their language back to them in your notes. I think that's huge. I think it's so important. And I think John pointed out in the chat that it shows that you're actually really listening and taking it in, as opposed to providing just a stock answer or throwing, your basic template at them. And then the other one was the options. I think, we don't think about that enough. We think, here's what I do, and that's it. But the options is fantastic. That's a huge lesson for me today.
Glad there's some value in there. Like I said, guys, I have stubbed my toes on this more than once. And it's just this big experiment game. You find out what works, and you just keep building on top of that. So anyway, appreciate you guys being here today. I've got my email out there if you guys are interested in seeing what that corporate bio looks like. I'd be happy to send it to you. And thanks for being a part of this today.
Anybody else have anything they want to ask, or we still have another 10 minutes. So if we want to if anybody has any more questions.
Oh, okay.
Shelley?
Yeah.
I just, later today, I'm going to share something on the FX Facebook page. It's a link to an outstanding podcast episode I listened to this morning. One of my favorites, a fellow named Jeffrey Shaw, named Creative Warriors Podcast. And this morning he talked about what the CEO of the National Association of the Self-Employed. And it's really enlightening to find out where your place is in the self-employment community in this country, and what benefits you are probably still eligible for under the payroll protection program, especially if you have dismissed that option. But this is really very enlightening, and it really helps to understand kind of where we fit in within the larger community of small businesses in the country. So I did see it online just before this began, and I'll try to share that on through the FX Facebook page later today.
That'd be great.
Oh, and something about the payroll protection, PPP. I was on a call a few weeks ago with an official from the federal government, and she was very informative. And she was saying that the difference with PPP is that, of course, you're going through a bank, and they're looking at your net earnings for the year. So after all deductions.
That's right.
So sometimes that can zero out, as you know. Like, we have a good year, but we also have a lot of expenses. So it's based on what you netted in the previous year. With the EIDL loan, EIDL loans, that is based on the gross. EIDL loans ran out of funding. They were refunded during the second tranche of that was just passed a couple of weeks ago. But right now they're only available for agricultural businesses. And EIDL loans may reopen for other people, but right now they're just trying to they're trying to fill in the backlog and process all those applications. But the EIDL goes directly through the Small Business Administration. whereas PPP goes through, will go through bank. And what I'm hearing locally is that working through a local bank, local credit union, people are having better success rather than small business owners rather than trying to go to Bank of America or Chase or something.
Yeah.
So if I may, I'll say I was the one in the chat that said I'm not a current freelancer, but it's certainly something that I'm interested in potentially pursuing. Just with, you're right, with the way of where things are right now, the contingency plans for people who have been in a normal corporate world, and how we need to kind of figure out what's next now after this COVID-19 stuff. So my question, Matt, and I apologize if this is a little off topic, but I did take a look at your website, and I'm just kind of curious, can you tell me what the free masterclass for freelancers is that I'm seeing on that website? And what does that entail?
Yeah. So yeah, just real quick, it's a 3-day masterclass. It's hands-on, and I walk people through a process who've never freelanced before, how to identify what their marketable services are, how to price those services, and how to pitch those services. You don't have to have any customers, no selling experience, and no existing clients. And I've done it a few times. It's going to be starting here the 14th. But yeah, it's my offering to people that are looking for an opportunity to maybe sell their skills. I mean, all of us have some incredible value to sell or to share. It's just a matter of how do you package it, how do you sell it.
It can certainly be overwhelming. So I applaud everyone on this call and all the years of service that people have had freelancing, because it's hard to figure out where do you even start.
Yeah.
So thank you for the information today.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I appreciate it, Matt. This is great. I love your energy. You're so fun to listen to, and there's so much to offer. So thank you for doing this. I hope we can do this some more with you in the future. But I appreciate your time today, and this is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Take care,
Matt.
you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll see y'all hopefully on the next call, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.